had never written a book, and the idea of doing so filled me with desire. The third reason grew slowly, but it became a central one. The more I learned about what the Balls had done as slaveholders, the more I wanted to tell the family story openly and without disguise. I felt that by writing about us, the Balls were one of America's oldest and largest slaveholding clans, I might begin to approach the thing that therapists call coming to terms. My own reckoning, as a latter-day descendant of a slave dynasty, would be a selfish one. But if I could carry it off, the story might also enable other people, white and black, to approach a more livable memory of slavery. Many stories about the pre-Civil War South have come down through filtered light, veiled in a romantic glow. The plantations, islands of gentle refinement, were like a necklace of country clubs strewn across the land, or at least many have imagined. In reality, the cotton, rice, sugar, and tobacco plantations were in many ways like prison camps, with their owners in the role of commandants. I wanted to speak about the Ball plantation dynasty in a way different from old patterns of memory. I did not want to write a gentle family memoir padded with self-admiring tales. As a way of talking plain, I hoped to meet several black families with whom I had the vexed connection of sharing the same plantation backstory. I suspected there might be a large group of African Americans whose roots went back to the Ball lands. I wanted to break bread with some whose people, long ago, my own family had put through a kind of hell on earth. From these encounters, made possible by a close reading of the written record and, to a lesser extent, by both white and black oral traditions, I hoped to write a collective family history. I admit that it was a heavy assignment, but fortunately I had all the records I needed and eventually all the family lore I could cope with. And I had time, thanks to my publisher, Farrar, Straus & Giroux, which offered an advance so I could quit my day work as a freelance critic. My father's people, the Ball family of South Carolina, belonged to America's first elite, the planter class, a group long defunct in economic fact, but not necessarily in its idea of itself. In some places in the South, the descendants of slaveholders comprise a distinct society with its own folkways, memories, and pride. Families such as mine know who they are, in part because if your people once owned vast tracts of land, gorged themselves on exquisite things, and were followed through life by clouds of workers and servants, many of whom called you master, the memory of those experiences is not allowed to fade. Instead, it is preserved and honored. Such a memory might give you, generations later, in the present, a feeling of belonging and a sense of tradition, but also a sense of what it means to be entitled, an invisible psychological support and a feeling that one might deserve whatever is on offer from the world. I did not know, but in time discovered, that on these plantations we had enslaved close to 4,000 people. When I first started reading, I expected that there might be a number of black people living today whose roots went back to the Ball lands. I did not know, although I was eventually able to determine, that the descendants of the Ball slaves numbered perhaps 100,000, people who lived all across the United States. A conspicuous piece of family business, however you look at it. And more, it was a shared history, black with white, rather than our sole family possession. In popular memory, a wall of silence has long surrounded the subject of slavery, a wall nowhere more soundproof than among the descendants of slaveholders. There are two pillars of tradition that have been the possession of most families who once enslaved people. They are, first, that our ancestors were gentle masters. We did not beat our slaves, whereas the people next door were well known for brutalizing their workers. The second common tradition is this: the men in our family did not sleep with their women slaves. However, everyone